Afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming. So it's been a pretty special day here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Obviously, our announcement this morning that we've sold out of all of our tickets, not just reserved seats, but general admission tickets as well here at the Speedway, and that people in Indianapolis that haven't purchased a ticket are going to have an opportunity to watch the race live for the first time since 1950. We've gotten tons of responses already. It's been fun to be in the admin building as people have been coming in excited about what's going to happen here in just a few days. But while we've been really busy the last 365 days thinking about how to sell the Indianapolis 500 and the 100th running of this race, one of the things that's probably more important that we haven't talked about as much because it's been underlying is what are we going to do to make sure that the experience when folks get here, especially with more folks, is a good experience. And one of the benefits of Indianapolis and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is we are in a community that knows how to put on big events. And we're in a collaborative community where we all work very well together. And the Speedway has benefited from a great relationship with all law enforcement across this state, but in particular here in Indianapolis area through the Speedway Police Department, IMPD, the Sheriff's Department, and the State Police. And we're excited today. We've got several members here, so we'll talk a little bit about that relationship and how it works for us for the 100th running. To my right is our new Senior Director of Safety, Mike Bates, former Deputy Chief at IMPD. He retired, and upon his retirement, we had him working for us about 6 hours later. Mark Miles, Allison Millangton have had an opportunity to work with Mike on several big events, including the Super Bowl, as well as some Final Fours and others. There's nobody better in the country at helping pull an organization together to be prepared for everything related to safety and security. So you'll hear from Mike in a moment. And to my left is the Special Agent in charge from the Secret Service, Paul Dvorak, and Paul's going to talk a little bit about that relationship that the Speedway has that goes even beyond just the local law enforcement folks here. So what I'd like to do, at least to begin, is talk a little bit about, as a fan, what you can expect as you come to the Speedway and some of the things you need to have in your mind as you're coming to the race this year. The most important thing, I think, for folks to remember, and we talked about it this morning, are three things. You need to be here early. With 100,000 plus people in the area, more than we've had last year, it is going to be a little bit more challenging to get to the world's largest single-day sporting event. And it is the world's largest single-day sporting event, so that means this year you are going to have to be early. We want you to plan ahead. We want you to really think about what you're going to do when you come to the Speedway. And when plan ahead, we mean if you don't have a parking spot that you know you have, so if you don't have a credential issued from the Speedway, you will not be able to get into the Indianapolis Motor Speedway without one of those credentials. So what you need to think about is where are you going to park. I know some folks already have parking arranged in some neighborhoods and some other places throughout the town of Speedway and to the north of the racetrack, but you really need to start planning ahead on how you're going to get here. And as you travel, we want you to be very, very patient. It's important that you have that patience because the crowd's going to be bigger. Even when the crowd isn't as big as it's going to be this year, patience is important. It's patience with your fellow fan. It's patience with law enforcement as they help you navigate your way here, as they help deal with traffic and make sure that you get here in a safe manner. It's patience with the folks when you get to the gate at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we think about how you get in. And again, it's patience with your fans as you're walking up steps, you're moving throughout the facility, you're getting on an elevator, and you're trying to find your seats. It's just really important that you come early, that you plan how you're going to do it when you come here, and that you're very patient throughout that process. I think if you can keep those three things in mind, your day is going to be a pretty good day when we celebrate the 100th running here. One of the ways, I think, as you're thinking this through, that we can help you do some of your homework is you can download the IMS app. So we've just come up with the IMS, or just revitalized our IMS app here in the last few weeks. It's a great opportunity for you to keep up to date with news, opportunities, and when you get to the facility, it will help you navigate from point to point. Now, when you're navigating point to point, that's what that app will do. Remember that sometimes some of our busiest gates, just a few hundred feet away, could be another gate that is less busy. So, for example, we have 24 gates that are going to be open on race day. Our busiest gates on the west side of the racetrack are Gate 1, which is the new gate that's 16th and Georgetown in the roundabout. Gate 6, which is the gate just behind the Media Center and the pagoda here where the tunnel leads out to Lot 2, which is just to the west of the facility. And Gate 9, which is the gate behind Turn 4. Those are our three busiest gates on the west side of the facility. But in between each of those gates, so in between Gate 1 and 6, in between Gates 6 and 9, just a few hundred feet away are many other gates. So when you come up to the facility, if the first gate you see is 1, 6, or 9, know that there are many other gates. So if you continue to pass those gates, you will find gates that are probably less busy and will help you get in. When you get to the gates, it's important to know that we will be checking coolers. We will be checking bags. We are going to do this in a way a little bit different than we've done in the past. We're all used to yellow shirts and safety patrol. Those folks will still be there, but their general responsibility will be to scan your ticket and make sure you know where you're going once you get into the facility. We will have security, ESG security, who are trained in going through bags and coolers. They will be going through those bags and coolers. So as you come up to the lanes, you will be met by both of those. Deputy Chief Bates is going to talk a little bit about a perimeter that we'll have set on at gate 6 and at gate 1 to help you maybe even check your coolers a little ahead of time to help you get through the gates a little bit faster. We'll also have throughout the facility express lanes. If you come to the race, you don't have a cooler and you don't have a bag, find an express lane and you can get in, and you won't have to worry about having a cooler or bag check. That'll help you get in a little bit quicker as you go through the facility. And those will be marked as you come in to the racetrack. Again, it's important to remember that all of our parking inside the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and in Lot 1C, the former Coke lot, is sold out. So if you don't have a parking pass and you're coming from downtown, for example, on 16th Street, coming towards the Speedway, and you're wondering how long it's going to take till you get to the gate 2, which comes underneath turns 1 and 2, so that you can get in, know that when you get there, we're going to have you pass along, because without a parking credential, you can't get in. So we encourage you to find another route to get to the Speedway if you aren't coming into the Speedway because of those credentials. Same goes for our camping and our parking lots on the outside. Our camping is completely sold out. So for those folks who are thinking they can show up on Thursday, Friday, Saturday night and get in and camp, there is no camping available. You unfortunately will be turned away. So you need to think about that as well as you're coming to the Speedway. If you don't want to drive, we have other options as well. Taxi, Uber, free enterprise, all to get you here to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Taxis and Ubers will drop off down on Main and Gilman in the town of Speedway, a short walk just south of Gate 1. And free enterprise, it has several buses that will be coming from downtown and bringing people off and then taking them back. And you can find more information about that on the free enterprise website. That gives you a pretty good idea of what to expect when you come here. Again, it's just really important that you show up early. You plan where you're going to go. In particular, you plan where you're going to park. When I first came to the Indianapolis 500 with my dad in 1977, and for the many years that we came together, we parked down at 10th Street in the town of Speedway and walked a little over a mile and a half for us to get to our paddock penthouse seats. It was part of the fun. Part of the fun was celebrating that walk with other fans, carrying your cooler, enjoying that walk. And then on the way back, it was fun to walk and talk to fans who were either excited that A.J. Foyt had won his 4th or upset that Gordon Johncock's car had stopped early and he didn't get a chance to win his 2nd at that point in time. So those are the things that make being part of this event so special. I've said a lot this year that it's much more than what happens on the track. It is the entire experience. And if there's one thing that Allison Millangton has taught us at the Speedway, is your experience starts when you leave your house and doesn't end until you get home. And we're trying to do the best we can to help you manage that entire process. We want it all to go smoothly. And again, it's all about being early, planning how you're going to move and how you're going to get here, and just being real patient. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Bates to talk a little bit more specific related to some of the security measures that are in place for this year's 500.
Well done, well done. So thanks, everybody. Again, Mike Bates is my name. I've been out here since January. Apparently I was blessed enough that Allison remembered me and Mark from the Super Bowl. So what a great place to retire to, if you really want to call it retiring. So retired on a Wednesday, started out here on a Thursday. But I am truly blessed. But as Doug alluded to, this year, obviously, with the increase in crowd and the numbers that we have, certainly we're going to increase the public safety presence out here. I mean, that's kind of a given, which is what we have done. You know, I think we are probably up close to 20% above what we had last year with regards to, you know, not so much just all police officers, but public safety. And sometimes I'm remiss, I forget to mention fire and EMS, but they are so important to make it work, to make us all safe. Please, obviously, it could be a law enforcement-driven event, but the point is the partnerships are something that we couldn't do without fire and EMS. So they're huge helps. But a lot of the police officers, as Doug alluded to, we'll have them on all the gates. So they'll be there. They'll monitor the gates. They'll help us. They'll help us if we have any issues with gates whatsoever. ESG will do a great job for us. Everyone needs to please remember the expectation that whether you're walking or you're driving in, the expectation that you're going to be stopped and you're going to be searched, your cooler and your bag is going to be searched, and that it does include a vehicle or a person walking into the gate. So everybody needs to have that expectation that could possibly happen. That is the intent at this point. We're going to try to do our best as far as that goes. it's really a team effort. Like I'd mentioned, we talk about all the multiple agencies involved, literally dozens of agencies to make this successful. And we are blessed, Indianapolis. We have the support of all of our partners, local, state, and federal, but we couldn't do it without them, and I think that's what makes us work. Just a couple things that we're doing that we've done differently this year is we're adding additional canines to help us search vehicles, to help us basically in the perimeters to monitor those things. So they'll primarily be all over the facility, but we'll see a large contingency up near the north end where the majority of the vehicles come in Tunnel 10 that are entering inside of the track. That was something that we felt like we needed to kind of look at. In addition to that, we'll have the LPR cars, license plate reader vehicles out here. The IMPD has been so gracious to supply those out here. And what they will do is they will be scanning license plates. And so anybody that is coming in, well, obviously we won't get every plate, but the point is we're going to get as many license plates as we can. The whole point of that is to look for vehicles that are stolen or, depending on the registration, wanted individuals that are trying to come in here and potentially cause harm. We don't want that to happen. So they'll be primarily on the north side. We have a couple vehicles out here. They'll be in and outside the track, moving around, taking pictures of license plates. And depending on obviously what happens, we will address the issue if we get a vehicle that is not supposed to be here. We will address that at that point. So there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of things that we've enhanced this year that I can't really talk about, based on the fact that they're federal assets. But rest assured that we have a number of safety involved features in place that are really going to help all the fans stay safe. And like I said, you'll see a lot of uniformed personnel out there, but you'll also not see a lot of people out here that are out there. So in other words, there'll be a lot of plainclothes officers walking around monitoring. So it's just important that fans understand that the security obviously this year has really been ramped up. I think it's important. I certainly can't take credit for that. Security has always been very, very good out here regardless, but with the increase in people and fans attending, we thought it was really our due diligence to bump those up. So those are just a few of the things that we're trying to do. Like I said, please understand, the folks inspecting the bags and the coolers, that is going to happen. So we're primarily, everybody should have that expectation. So it's really important that everybody just be patient, as Doug had mentioned. It's going to take a while. I mean, there's no question about it. We have additional officers inside and outside the track to deal with the ingress and egress, especially after the race. So those are things to remember. It's going to take, with the crowd this size, it's just going to take a while to get home and to get here. So people leave early. If you're here after the race, if you're here when the race ends, take your time. Just keep enjoying yourself, whatever you're doing for an hour or so. It'll make your drive home much, much less stressful. So other than that, then let me introduce Paul Dvorak from he's the special agent in charge of U.S. Secret Service, the Indianapolis office. And Paul is our federal coordinator, and I'll let him kind of explain what that is. It goes along with the Tier 2 designation that Homeland Security, U.S. Homeland Security designates this event. So, Paul.
Thanks, Director Bates. This is the third year that this event has been designated a Tier 2 event, which stands for Special Event Assessment Rating, and it's designated by the Department of Homeland Security. There's a whole methodology. It's a risk-based methodology that's figured, and a lot of public events apply for this designation every year. As a matter of fact, and only a few of them are actually obtain that designation. In 2016, there's only 11 events that are designated as Tier 2 event. So what does this mean for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? It means that we can bring federal assets to this event and enhance the security plan. So some of the assets that we are bringing, Customs and Border Patrol is going to bring 2 of their helicopters. These helicopters will be used throughout the weekend. They'll be used during the parade. They'll be used during the day around for folks that are camping outside the facility, and certainly for traffic. Other assets that are going to be obtained are from the Homeland Security investigations. They're going to provide cameras that are placed outside of the facility that will help with the protection of the folks, the spectators and camping throughout the weekend. And they also have manpower and communication assets that they're providing as well. As Director Bates mentioned, ATF will be providing some of those canine assets that were previously discussed. The TSA will provide a temporary flight restriction for the track on race day. It'll go up an hour before the race and continue an hour after the race, and it will prohibit any type of aircrafts over the facility during the race time. Other assets that are provided, DHS will provide intelligence gathering personnel, and they're also assisting on an information network. This is a platform that will allow all the law enforcement agencies to be able to share information effectively and efficiently. Some other assets, the FBI is providing several assets. Again, Director Bates alluded to the fact that the assets that they're providing, much of which we can't discuss in a public forum. But this is only a handful of some of the assets that the federal government's supporting to the event. And also we have many other federal agencies that will be at the ready if called upon. So I'd like to stress here that this is not a federally secured event. And I'd like to point out that this is a state and locally secured event. We are simply here to assist in their security plan. That is an excellent plan. And we'll give them whatever assets they feel they need and any expertise they may ask. I'd also like to take the opportunity to also say that the cooperation among other federal agencies, the state and locals, is unprecedented. I've never seen a group of people work so well together, not only for this event, but any events that we have in the state of Indiana and any kind of protective functions. So we look forward to an exciting and safe event on Sunday for both the spectators and everybody who's working the event.
Thank you. You highlighted something that I started off, and I don't think we can say it enough. The cooperation between Chief Campbell and your team, Chief Riggs and yours, the state police and Superintendent Carter and others. It is unbelievable to work at a place where you see all these people who wear different colors and different badges, yet they all know how to get along together. They understand whose duties are what. It's fascinating to watch them work, and it really is a testament, I think, about how we put on events in the state of Indiana. And you guys, as we go around the country and have an opportunity to talk about how to secure events, we are a model, and it's because of the way that all of you get along together, and really has nothing to do with each of us. So thank you for letting us be part of that team. Just a couple other things, and then we'll take some questions. This is sort of a clarification of where we were this morning. So we did stop selling reserve seat tickets several weeks ago, and we stopped selling GA tickets this morning. So for those folks who have purchased Snake Pit wristbands, so generally young adults under the age of 30 who are coming here for the Snake Pit, they will need a GA ticket to get in. Some haven't purchased those, so we will allow folks to purchase a GA ticket if they have that Snake Pit wristband. If somebody has a parking pass and didn't purchase GA tickets because they didn't know how many people were going to be in their car and they're used to showing up on race day and paying for those folks that were with them, we're going to continue to allow that to happen. Same with those folks who have purchased bronze badges or other credentials to get into the Speedway, where on race day it will take some sort of ticket along with that credential to allow them in. We will help them out. There's a few other items like that, and those will be made available on the IMS website, or you can call our ticketing department and help work through that. But for the most part, there are no tickets for sale at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at the moment. One other thing related to weather is we all continue to watch the weather this weekend and to see how weather looks. From our standpoint, we will continue to work with National Weather Service, and we have a partnership with WTHR and their weather team, and pay attention to that. So as we get closer to the event, we'll be more specific on anything related to weather. We don't really want to get into specific conversations on how we might manage weather, because there are so many scenarios, and we don't want the wrong information to get out in the event. We want them to do something else in venue. So more specifics about the weather, I think we'll deal with as we get closer and feel more comfortable about exactly what that weather situation could be. But while I'm talking about weather, Legends Day and Carb Day, the concerts, both would continue to go on even in rain. If there was lightning, obviously that wouldn't take place. So for those folks that are planning on coming for Legends Day or Carb Day, in almost all instances, if there is rain, those events will continue.